Yes, I think we're live, and I hope that you can hear me. Because of that, I have a frog in my throat. Again, I do hope that you can hear me. Anyhow, Q&A. Yes, you can ask some nutrition-related questions, but I would like to keep these streams semi focused on the cravings part, eating behaviors, why we can't do what we want to do, that sort of thing, because that's what's interesting me the most. And if you have nutrition questions, you can just actually pop by Bart's Q&A on Saturdays for you people, Sundays if you're in New Zealand or Australia. And we shall both be there and answer your questions. So we have 2 streams for now anyway. Okay. So excuse me, I have these magnesium pills. And for some reason, they always get stuck in my throat very far down, and then the gel capsule is disintegrating, and I just feel all of this like powder in my throat, which is really gross. And my glass of water is gone, so I need some more coffee. So, before I answer any of your questions, before Sue sent me like 100 million questions in the comments to the last live stream. So I've written them down, or I copied them to a document, and I'm just going to read them to you, and I'm going to answer them hopefully quickly, but there are many questions. So meanwhile, if you ask me questions in the chat, we will have a few questions that I can circle back to once we are done with these. So let me just get them up. And there was a comment about the time, which is 10:30 p.m. Central normally. Today is 10 p.m. This is the new time that I will keep the live stream at. And actually, hang on. Actually. So since it seems to be a little bit hard to find the live streams sometimes, here it is. This is the next week's one. Get them one belled or notified or whatever you do with them to maybe get a reminder. But anyway, it's this time, and I'm going to keep this day and this time for the foreseeable future. Or if you guys don't want me here, then I'll fuck off. So that was that. And then I got one of the questions was, I'll just read it. Regarding sweet potatoes, did you know about deuterium that Joey Schwartz talked about today? That starchy tubers have the highest amount of deuterium. I believe someone talked about this in I can't even read. In his comments, does it have less deuterium than rice? I don't know if it has. Probably not, but I don't know. I'm by no means an expert on deuterium. I figured that you can just go and Google that as easy as I can. And honestly, I don't give a shit. It's not like I'm eating a lot of vegetables or anything that is super rich in deuterium. I don't think that is going to kill me. The sweet potatoes for me has 2 purposes. The first one is obviously to get rid of the headaches as a sort of medicine, because carbs seems to help. And I have used rice, but I also seem to have some oxalate dumping symptoms. So if I can get some oxalates in with my diet, that would probably lessen the dumping symptoms. So it has a dual purpose for me, and I like it better than rice. I don't like rice, but I do normally like sweet potato. Having said that, I ate so little last time that I don't know. But the headache went away, and unfortunately, I woke up this morning with quite a bad headache. And if it hasn't gone away by the afternoon, I might eat half a sweet potato again. But this time it's been 9 days. So that time that I seem to be able to go without carbs when I'm eating 80% fat seems to increase. And I have occasional headaches in between, but they're very, very light and they don't really bother me that much. So it's just when it goes to that stage when I almost feel sick, I feel like it's a dirty headache. It's in my head and it makes me feel sick, like I'm full of mud or something. No one's going to understand a word of what I'm saying. So, like, I'm looking at any type of food as what is the net benefit of me eating this food? Is the amount of carbohydrates going to help my headache? Is the amount of oxalates going to help me, or is it going to be a problem? Is there enough deuterium there to make any, you know, to be detrimental to my health? Probably not. So the net benefit of me eating a sweet potato, if it helps with my headache, is way higher than the cost. So that's why I'm going to do it. Um, Although I'm not sure I'm going to do it today already. Usually, well, lately anyway, my headaches have ramped up slowly. So last week when I did it, I had a very mild one, and then I got a slightly worse one, or a pretty bad one on the second day, and then I woke up on the third day and it was still really bad. And that's when I decided, excuse me, that I was going to eat the sweet potato, or I had already decided the night before that if it's not gone tomorrow morning, I'm going to do it. Now, yesterday I did not have a headache, and I was a bit surprised by how bad it was this morning. So I'm still thinking about it, but I might. Right, so the next question was, my plan now is to eat rib eye, ground beef plus eggs every day of the week, drenching it in butter and ghee, and maybe add a can of cod liver oil once a week. Cod liver, sorry, once a week. Do you think that would work? I like the taste, but would it have optimal nutrition for a 32-year-old, 183 centimeters, 74 kilo male? Of course, not making absolute statements and eating till properly stuffed, just asking for optimal nutrition ratios. I will give you my opinion on this, but I also need to sneeze. The bloody pollen. Hang on. But I also want to let you know that if you want help and like opinions on nutrition, it's probably better that you go to the Saturday for You live stream on Bart's channel, because I do like to focus more on the application of whatever diet is that you want to eat. So I want to keep this a little bit clean with helping people that feel like they are addicted to food, but I'm going to answer it anyway. So the answer to my question is just like, so it sounds perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with that at all. It sounds like that would be really good. So you will get everything that you need from eating that, probably, unless you are already deficient in something. But if you have like a pre-existing deficiency from your previous diet, then maybe it won't be enough. Maybe you will have to supplement, but I don't know if you have that. As a diet as such, if you were like optimal and you ask me about is this a good diet, I would say, yeah, it probably has everything that you could possibly need. So that shouldn't be a problem. But like with me, someone asked them this morning or last night probably, um, what was the actual question? The question was something like, oh God, I'm gonna have to check it up. I'll do that later. But my answer to the question that I can't remember is that it was something like, why do you eat 80% fat? Where in nature would we find that? So my answer to that is that my health is not optimal. I'm not a blank sheet that just comes out of the box, new, no problems, no pre-existing metabolic violations or whatever. My body probably needs to heal something. There's a reason for why I get these headaches, and it's that something is not functioning optimally for me. And I don't know what it is. So I'm using very high fat right now as a sort of medicine. It's like I'm making a point of, with every meal that I feel like this is not enough fat, there's too much protein here, I go and fry some beef fat and I just add that. Or I add tons of butter because I feel better doing it. I don't think that I will have to do that for the rest of my life. This is a strategy that I'm using to just feel better right now. Okay. Um, don't be sorry about your questions. It's fine. I just want to make a point of that because you are used to seeing me on Bart's channel where we are handling nutrition questions primarily. And after all, I'm a nutritionist, but that's not what I'm doing on this channel. So that's just like to make a bit of a differentiation between the two. And you can still ask me, like, but do it in a few days. But I know that before, so you're probably sleeping at that time because that is a lot later. But anyhow, okay. So you asked a really, really good question that I might go on a tangent a little bit. So you asked me why wouldn't the serotonin hit from actually doing like a task be a way better motivator than the dopamine hit from ticking off a list? Because I was talking about ways to motivate yourself to do things. And one of the things that I do is that I put everything in my calendar, and when I've done the task, I get to change the color of that task. So it goes from purple or blue or whatever to gray. Everything I've done is gray, and I get to tick that off because that would release some dopamine. So it's kind of because usually when you procrastinate, you are getting a dopamine hit from not doing it, from avoiding doing what it is that you want to do. So I was talking about supplementing with a little bit of dopamine by making it more enticing to do, like more tempting to do, because you still get a little bit of a reward. And then you said doing work, serotonin downregulating, ticking a list for self-appreciation, dopamine upregulating question mark. Since getting crap done is fulfilling, ticking lists to please yourself, egotistic in that regard, are list contraindicated. So I love this question and it's completely in line with what I do want to talk about. So thank you for asking that one because I think this might help some people. And I don't usually talk about serotonin as a neurotransmitter, or I don't really talk about it anyway, because the main player in addiction is dopamine. So I'm not saying that serotonin isn't important, but first, if you don't know the difference, because most people don't, the roles of serotonin and dopamine are very, very different. So dopamine is the neurotransmitter that helps you learn things. It reinforces something that you do that feels good so that you want to do it again. That's why we want more sugar because we have learned that that feels really good. It is what actually creates the cravings and the urges that we have to do something or avoid doing something. So it does both like positive and negative stuff. If we had gone back 10,000 years or whatever, it would have been only positive. So the reason that this system is there is just to help us. It's just that things go wrong in a society like ours. Serotonin, on the other hand, is something, it will just let you know that something feels good, but thank you, now I'm done. Like it, it's an inhibitory neurotransmitter. So the more serotonin you get, it's like, okay, now I'm satiated and I'm good there. It can never fuel an addiction. So if pleasure is dopamine, because we want pleasure from eating food and we want pleasure from scrolling social media and we want pleasure from gambling and whatever, serotonin is pretty much happiness. It's just like it reaches this level where we just feel happy and then we don't need more serotonin. So there's no drive behind serotonin that we want to do more of it. It just feels good when we have it. So these affect different areas in the brain as well, and they have different regulatory pathways. Can't even speak. And the mechanism of action is also very different. So they're just driven by different things. So when dopamine binds to its receptor, it just propagates the response. So that's why it's called an excitatory neurotransmitter. It's like when it binds, it just keeps exciting more and more neurons. And because of this, the response can very quickly go from being too much or for being enough from just like being normal to being too much. And that's when we start down regulating those receptors because we want to protect the neurons. Because if we have all of those signals just like bombarding us over and over again, what's going to happen is that you're going to destroy the neurons, and they don't want that. So we may as well just downregulate the receptors because we don't need that much input, and then we'll be fine. And that's why you get less response from anything that you eat the second time or third time, fourth time, and so on. That's tolerance when we start downregulating the receptors, etc. So serotonin is the opposite. So I said it was an inhibitory neurotransmitter. So we can't overdose on happiness. And this is where I think your question is really relevant, is like, because the one thing that downregulates serotonin is dopamine. So the more pleasure we're trying to get, the more unhappy we are getting. So that's why you don't want to substitute, or that's one of the reasons for why you don't want to substitute sugar addiction with sweetener addiction, or you want to substitute smoking addiction with coffee or whatever, because you will still have as much dopamine. So it doesn't matter what it is, it will downregulate your serotonin, and it will be harder for you to feel happy because you are not going to have as much serotonin. So that's a very important point. Having said that, like when you're ticking off something in the calendar, we can't live without serotonin. Without dopamine. We need dopamine to feel that motivation to do things. It's normal to have some dopamine, and ticking things off in a calendar is never going to be hugely. I mean, there's no one. I'll say no one. You never know, but there's literally no one who's going to be addicted to ticking things off in the calendar. We might be a bit obsessive about it, but it's never going to provide like this huge dopamine release that a chocolate cake does, for example. That's not going to happen. So it's more of a normal thing, like a normal reward you would get from doing things. So answering that, I don't think like ticking things off on a calendar is going to downregulate your serotonin much and make you unhappy. But we also need to keep in mind that serotonin is it's reinforcing behaviors. It's not reinforcing behaviors. Dopamine is what is reinforcing behaviors. So if you want to change a behavior, you need some dopamine to learn that and to be motivated to do that. So we can't use serotonin to do that. So if you are struggling with procrastination, for example, that we were talking about last time, the problem you have is to even do the work. And there is no way that you could use or manipulate serotonin in any way to help you do this in the moment. You need to first make this a habit, and then you need the dopamine or a system to do that, to reinforce that behavior. And the more dopamine you have, the quicker you're going to learn it. Then you reap the rewards from serotonin when this starts to kind of cool off a bit, when you don't need that reinforcement as much because it's now a new habit loop that you have created. When you do this on autopilot, you'll still get a little bit, but it's not going to be as exciting because it's not new anymore. And you're going to start feeling that general happiness. And when you can see the results that you're getting, like, I'm getting all this shit done, and that feels really good. And that's the serotonin. So ticking off a list is just a way for you to reinforce the behavior that you want to have, so that you can then go on and actually be happy about it. So I hope that clarifies things and didn't make it more confusing. Okay, I'm going to take some questions from the chat before I continue because I'm talking too much. Okay, Miss Pagan, picking up some more liver from the farm in a week. Okay. Interesting. I've never had smoked liver. I might actually like that. I don't know. Well, you do have an excuse. I haven't worked with anyone who's pregnant, to be honest. It would be interesting to do that. I still crave some variety in taste. I no longer care if it's sweet. What would be the least inflammatory drink? Water plus some lemon drops, I guess. You can do that. Lemon has another added benefit as well. There's some citric acid in there, so if you have any sort of oxalate problems, that will be fine. But I would ask myself if I were you, like, what do I think will be better by adding some taste? Mm, think I'm gonna make some coffee. You are welcome. Uh-oh. Not gonna lie, I'm making apple custard. Miss Pagan, you already have carnivore children. What are you doing? Yeah, I don't like. I mean, I could eat rice pudding. I like that, but like rice, it's really boring. Yeah, rice is great for absorbing tasty stuff, but that's about it. True, if you have something really saucy. uh, okay. Started adding more and more butter this week and see where my threshold is. Yeah. I think I mentioned this last week, but the first 5 days I did 80% fat. I was fine, and then I just felt like, oh, I can't stomach any more fat, and just the thought of it made me feel sick, like literally sick. So I had to stop it for 2 or 3 days. I can't remember, and now I'm fine. It was like a very quick adjustment, but I did have a kickback there in the beginning. I've heard that from your and other channels, you can't overdose on social interactions, happiness, or something like that. No, there's no way you're going to be able to overdose on that. I mean, I'm an introvert, so I might get overdosed on people because I need time for myself to regenerate. It doesn't mean that I don't enjoy interacting with other people. I can have a good time, but it's like I've had enough now. I need to go home. I need to live in solitude, lock myself up, and not talk to anyone. And I thought that this used because I used to work as a personal trainer and I used to be at the gym like 40 hours a week, either doing classes or helping people in the gym with the exercises, etc. So I was talking to people all day long. And I thought it was like a kickback from the job. Like, okay, when I'm home, I don't want to talk to anyone. I just want to be alone. I don't want to listen to any fucking music. It's enough. Like silence, but that has never gone away. I'm still like that. Even though I'm not talking to people 40 hours a week. And I always enjoy interacting with people, but I need a lot of time for myself to just kind of, I don't know. I don't know what it is. It's just like to regenerate energy, but it's not even like I feel drained when I have clients because I really enjoy talking to people, but I really enjoy my time for myself. So unless you're talking about that, no, you can't overdose on social interactions and happiness. Okay. Yes, dopamine does downregulate serotonin. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to read the whole thing. So, for example, drinking, smoking carbs reduce the enjoyment of a social interaction in an addictive person. I believe I never heard that before. Yes. When you are addicted, what's more important to you is to eat the cake or whatever, or smoke. So for me, like if I was going to go somewhere and be in a group of people, I would be like, my first question would be, is there gonna be food there? Because that's the most important question. If the answer was no, I'd be like, why would I go? I would not prioritize the social interaction. Like, there has to be food there, otherwise, what's the reward? What's in it for me? Now, I'm still asking myself the question like, do I really want to go? But the food is just out of the question. It doesn't matter if there's food or not. I'm rather the opposite way around now. I'm actually, but that comes from a different place. Like everything that is happening is always like, yeah, we're having potluck dinner and we're doing this. There's always some sort of food involved, and that annoys me. And not because I'm going to sit there and not eat, and I'm going to sit there and say, no, I don't want to eat your bloody brownies. It annoys me because of the behavior that is in society and that we always do this, which reinforces the the it reinforces our belief that we need to have food to have fun, and that annoys me. So it's more about the behavior and that they think probably that they need to have food of some kind to have people showing up. And that might be true because I would have counted that as one of the factors for why I would or wouldn't show up in the past. But I don't like it. It's like I'm completely against that. I wish people could just come together, socialize, do something together, have fun without the food. It's like when we, if I go to one of these meetings, people are like, we're doing what we need to do first and using the food as motivation to go through all of that. So by the end, when we finish discussing or doing whatever activities we're doing, it's like, here is your reward. And you can see on people's faces, they just light up. It's like, yes, it's finally food time. And then I'm not eating. And they're like, why are you not eating? And usually I'm like, man, I'm fasting. Because I can't be bothered to explain, like, well, I don't like your food. I don't want to be rude that way. I'm just saying, like, or I ate early. I eat early in the day, so it's too late for me, or something like that, because that is factually true. So yeah, different place. I totally went off track there, didn't I? Super chat. Thank you so much before Zoo. Thanks for all your info. I really hate that all the interactions are based around food and most, even meat, are bathed in seed oils. Yeah, it's very sad. And you know what? The last time I attended such a thing, that was like probably like 6 months ago. But anyhow, it was a potluck. I didn't bring any food because I wasn't gonna eat. And like I have no interest in cooking something or buying some bullshit that's gonna kill someone and bringing it just to be polite. I said, well, I'm not gonna eat. I'm not gonna bring anything. But I was looking at the foods that were there. There was no dish that was just like protein. No one brought like a plate of chicken wings or something like that that could have been, or just like meatballs or whatever that could that I could have had and just taking that. Everything was like, you know, what do they call bloody? What are they called? Like little pies and stuff like in pastry, um, like mince, like packaged sausages. What do they call sausage rolls? That's that's what they call. There's always some sort of bready stuff or um, so stir fry looking things like a mix of rice and other things, or like potato salads, or when people are really put something in there, like put some effort in, or some other kind of bean salads, that sort of thing. Because obviously they're thinking about the vegans or people that don't eat meat. So someone has to do that, and they might have been someone who was vegetarian at least. But no one would ever consider like other like low carb, for example, or carnivore. Then I would have had to bring my own food. And I'd rather eat it warm at home than bringing it there and let it go cold. Anyhow, I'm so benevolent, am I not? Okay. Just join. How long until your dopamine response, I don't know if that's the right word, will regulate after stopping the addictive behavior? Um, it depends. So most people would get over this in 2 to 3 weeks, but it can probably take, up to 6 weeks for some people. There is some research that says that the system can be somewhat permanently damaged, but I'm not convinced that it matters because you can upregulate your receptors again. Like maybe you're not getting, maybe your body doesn't want to upregulate them again to the same level as they were when you were born, but maybe they would have declined anyway. It's never going to be like you're going to be unresponsive to dopamine, but it might be at a slightly lower level than if you had never been an addict, perhaps. But I don't think that is a huge problem because once you get over that, it's like where we were talking about the serotonin, etc. If you're not too dependent on the dopamine, and if you can manage your mind, I don't think it really matters because everyone has a different level of dopamine receptors. It's just that you are comparing it to something that it was before. And the problem here is just your thinking around it. Like, how do you manage your mind around that? Because when you think like that, you're still chasing a high. And the point of all of this is to not chase the high. Did I do some n=1 experiments regarding different carbs for your headache, like trying milk? I don't. I hate milk, and I don't do well with dairy, so I'm not doing that. Um, yeah, I get really congested if I drink milk. Whey protein seems to be a problem for me. I tried banana and rice in the beginning. Um, I stopped the bananas, but not because mostly because I order my food and it's hard to kind of order bananas and just keep them until I need them. So then I have to either throw them away or I would have to eat them when I didn't actually need them. So it's not a good food to store. So that's when I settle on rice instead. Plus, if I'm eating them when they are green, I get gas, and I never have gas because I'm a princess. No, seriously, I rarely do. But when I'm eating green bananas, it's like because that's just fermenting in my gut. So bananas is not like a superfood for me. It doesn't make me feel great. So the rice came without any sort of side effects. It just doesn't taste as good. So that's when I settled on that. But then when I started having all of these like bumps and itchies and scratchies and weird shit going on with the oxalate dumping, which I'm not 100% convinced that it's that, but it seems to be coming in cycles. So I think that might be uh, it might be that. I just figured that I could just eat sweet potato because they keep longer. I can just keep them in the fridge until I need them, and I'm fine. So I haven't really. The thing is that it wasn't even consistent before. It was like 80% of the time it helped to eat some carbs, and it seemed like I needed to eat maybe 60 grams to get an effect. That seemed to be the sweet spot, and if I ate less, nothing happened. But then obviously there are always going to be times where that doesn't work. And that could be that either that isn't the solution or the headache I had that day might have a different origin. And I have no way of telling. I have no idea. So when I had this 2/3 of a half a sweet potato like 9 days ago, I'm trying to think how much that could have been. And I don't think that was more than maybe 30 grams of carbs. But yeah, I don't know, the headache went away. So maybe I have a lower sweet spot now. Or maybe it was just coincidence, but the headache had been there for 3 days and it literally went away like an hour after I ate. So it feels like that is kind of quite a strong correlation between like what's happening when I'm eating different stuff and how I feel. So if my headache doesn't go away, I might try that again and see how long it takes. And I'm gonna eat the smallest half a sweet potato that I can find because I didn't really enjoy it that much last time. I think maybe it was a little bit old. I'm very fussy with my food. Hi Kathy in AZ. Yes. I tried your egg coffee recipe, but I think eggs stink like wet dog. Is gross. So I only did it once, but it was good frothy. Interesting. I have egg coffee here. I'll have some. I don't know. I mean, I have a very, very good sense of smell. That's apparently quite common in people with migraines and stuff. But I don't think it smells like wet dog. Right. I have learned to enjoy social gatherings without the food part. Although I bring dishes at holidays and everyone eats my keto carnivore food first. Yeah, strange how they do that. It's like the guilty pleasure. They're trying to do something that, I'm trying to be healthy, do the right thing, but then it's like, oh, fat and protein, that tastes really nice. Yeah, like, you're welcome. I shall convert you to my path of eating. I once went to work, went to lunch break, ordered spare ribs, no sauce, no sides, no salad, no marinade. I got spare ribs quenched in sugar sauce with coleslaw, two dips, just a joke. Ugh. Yeah, I do. I don't like ribs without the barbecue sauce, so I don't eat them very often. I'm gonna admit that. I haven't tried egg coffee yet. I do fine with raw dairy, cream only, so I stick with that. Otherwise, I get cystic acne on my face and neck. Yeah, I've got a lot of, not necessarily acne, but I do have had some pimples lately, like around my throat and my face, and I think not like lately, like a month ago maybe. And I'm wondering if that's part of my. I was doing, well, I'm still doing it. A borax experiment to see if that will help my sinuses. So there might be something that is dying, like hopefully, like I suspect there's fungus overgrowth in my nose. Hopefully that is what is dying and some toxins and shit released, or it's just the oxalates. Sweet potato is so sweet to me now. I rarely have it, but it's like dessert. Yes. I have the red sweet potatoes, the ones that have white flesh with some purple streaks in it. They are the best. You have these purple ones that are purple all the way through, then they're a bit kind of watery. And I don't really like the orange ones that much. Okay, I'm going to continue with the questions that I had from before Zoo from last week. Maybe this was the one that you said that I didn't need to answer, but I'm going to read it anyway. I'm curious when Bart, for example, berates a Vagoon for something he, she, it, Apache said, while maybe you or even him occasionally consume. How does that make you, him feel? Like, for example, eating rice, potatoes, blueberries. My current understanding is that all of you know all the consequences, but as long as what I said is correct in the current literature, it makes sense. Right, so I can't talk, I can't speak for what he's feeling. So I'm just gonna give you my answer. Like, I'm not interested in being extreme anything that I don't want to be. Like, I don't care. I'm gonna eat whatever makes me feel good. And I think I've already talked about this quite a lot with the sweet potatoes, etc. If something makes me feel good, I'm gonna eat it. If I'm eating it just for pleasure, I'm not going to do that. So I haven't eaten blueberries. Obviously, I haven't eaten any blueberries for several weeks now since I started doing 80% fat because there's no room for the blueberries. I don't miss the blueberries. I had the blueberries as like an insurance and they taste good. It's like a backup system. Just because I was really scared of those bloody headaches. It was not fun to have constant headaches and migraines for 3 weeks. That was awful. And that's why I want to nip it in the bud every time as quickly as possible now. So I could wait until tomorrow, but my head really doesn't feel very good right now. So if that doesn't improve, then I'm just going to do something and try to get rid of that. So for me, it's not like I don't care. Like everyone comes from a different place, everyone has had different diets. My metabolism might be damaged because of what I've been eating in the past. And therefore, maybe I don't create enough glucose for me just from gluconeogenesis. Maybe I have a conversion problem that can be solved with time, but clearly it's taking a lot of time because I've been more or less low carb for over 10 years, but I've never been zero carb before. I mean, I've tried a couple of times. Last time was 3 months, and that resulted with 3 weeks of constant headaches and migraines, and it's not worth it. Like, if I'm gonna be a Puritarian and I'm gonna eat all the right things that probably is the best diet for the human race, and that is going to make me feel like shit, am I gonna do it? No. I want to live my fucking life and have some fun and feel good. Just living in a haze and a daze and not being able to use my brain, not being able to do anything, just to eat the right thing, it's never gonna happen. Like I'm looking at food as something that is supposed to fuel me and make me feel good. And if it doesn't do that, I'm not gonna eat it. Or if something is really making me feel good, but isn't supposedly the most healthy food on earth, I'm still gonna eat it because it has a benefit to me. So that's how I see it. Okay. Next one. Do you believe one could approach that with a neutral question? Because even though I know what I know now, I always approach people with, that is what I found. I don't know if it's true, but I tried, and if it works for me, I will keep doing it to ease into the conversation. I hope that this way I could multiply my lead by example, body composition, but of course, if your way of eating is your religion, it won't work. So I think what you were talking about here, you have a timestamp, but I forget what it was, but reading your question, it was probably around like how to talk to people about, you know, justify why I'm eating the way I'm eating. I mean, I'm never justified. I'm just like, what makes me feel good? Like I just did to you. I don't give a shit if blueberries aren't optimal. If they make me feel good, I'm gonna eat them. And when I say feel good, is I'm talking about my body. If my body feels good, I'm gonna keep eating them. If it's just for pleasure, like short-term pleasure, eating in the moment that makes me feel good, that's a different story. I don't do that anymore. That's like giving into your cravings, and that is perpetuating this behavior of giving into cravings and fueling that addiction. So I don't do that, but I do look at what does my body crave? When does my body feel its best? When do I have most energy? When do I have least headaches? When are my joints feeling great all the time, etc. So I mean, I don't know what the way you're doing it sounds great to me. I don't know why you would want to do it differently. So you can lead a horse to water, but you can't force it to drink. We can just keep talking about it. We can keep doing what we're doing and wait for people to ask us, like, "Hey, what are you doing? Why am I so fat, but you look great?" So, well, I don't eat carbs. Maybe they will get interested enough to try it. Or maybe they will just start asking questions. And you can say, well, you don't have to do carnivore. Maybe I can help you just do keto or whatever. So you can ease them in a different way. But we want to wait until people are actually interested to ask the questions rather than bombarding them with information, because then they're going to be like, hey, I didn't ask you. I don't want to know. Yeah, the last question you asked, I'm not sure I'm going to answer this one. You said you had a question about why people have audio problems on YouTube. I mean, I can't speak for anyone else. I have no idea. Most people do listen to what they actually upload, but if it's alive and something has gone wrong, we're not gonna. The option is to take it down or re-record it. So I would just leave it. I don't give a shit. If you don't want to listen to it, don't listen to that one. Just come to the next one. Right. So here is almost like a follow-up question to that. Do you have any tips on how to approach family members who are sugar addicted? My mother was pre-diabetic 2 years ago, only ate low sugar chocolate. Now she eats 5 ice creams per week. Um, it's really hard to, I mean, you can't force anyone to do something that they don't want to do. You could like probe her a bit and ask, like, would you like your cravings to go away? Because that's what I do. I don't necessarily, I mean, we can't cure sugar addiction because that habit loop is always going to be there. Like that neural pathway in your brain is always going to be there. And if you fuel it, you're going to keep using it. You just have to build a new neural pathway that is equally strong, put that on autopilot, and let that one be the choice. So when we're doing that, you're just reprogramming your brain to no longer feel the desire for whatever it is that it's craving. So I can still think about, sometimes I have thoughts about, Ben and Jerry's chocolate chip cookie dough ice cream, for example. And my brain will automatically say, oh, that would be nice. But it doesn't create the physiological craving in me anymore. I don't get the salivation that I would have got before. I don't feel the urge to go and eat it. So my desire is pretty much gone for this thing. I still think about it, like my brain is like, but it was really good. It's just like that there is a disconnect between knowing that I really loved this ice cream and that it's really, really good, and the desire to eat it. I have trained my brain to no longer have that desire. So that is what I do. And if she's interested in learning that, I mean, send her some of my videos. I had one the other week with like what is carb addiction and how can we treat it, which just explains how all of this works. So if she's interested, if she's like, yeah, that would be lovely if I could just not want it anymore, because ultimately, as long as you want it, you're going to be like, do I want to quit? No, not really. But if the question is, would you want your desire for those ice creams to go away? I would be like, hell yes. I don't want to desire ice cream. That's shithouse. So if she's like, yeah, that would be awesome. Like send her that video, have her watch it and see what she thinks. Like maybe it will just like sow a seed in her brain, which might grow over time and get her to be like, yeah, okay, I'll watch some more videos and we'll learn a little bit more. And maybe she wants to join my Facebook group and just get some help there, that sort of thing. But it has to come from her. So rather than like, you really should quit sugar because you're diabetic and you're going to kill yourself, that's just going to make her feel awful and she's probably more likely to eat. I eat stuff that makes me feel good, not in an addictive way. That summarizes it so perfectly. Thanks. Yes. And that is a wonderful thing to do. Like just going on the journey of finding the foods that makes you feel good. And most of the time, they're probably going to be very carnivorous or very low carb. But sometimes there might be some other foods that's going to make you feel good because for some reason you need them for the current metabolism that you have. But that doesn't mean that you will always need them. So if you are having something like me with my sweet potatoes, for example, if I don't get headaches anymore, I wouldn't eat the sweet potatoes anymore. Like there's no reason for me to eat them anymore. But if I was doing that and then I started having other problems and it turns out that they're caused by the sweet potato, then I would cut it out and try something different. So we are constantly changing. So just like always pay attention to what is happening. What is working today might not work in a year from now. But that's the beauty. I'm hoping that my metabolism will get better. And I see evidence that it is because eating this much fat, first time I managed 5 days without any headaches. And I was kind of leaving it a little bit longer, but now it's 9. I might have had like a very mild one or two. I don't really remember, but it hasn't been anything bad. And 9 days on an almost zero carb diet without any headaches is now like a rarity for me. So I'm kind of over the moon. So it seems to improve fairly quickly for me, I would say. And hopefully today or tomorrow, I'm gonna get a glucose keto meter delivered. So I'm gonna start tracking that as well and see if there's like something with my glucose going low at the same time as maybe low ketones, or if whatever the reason could be for my headaches, and if it's to be found in my blood work. I'd have no idea, but I want to figure that out. Yay! Adek made it. Hi, girl. Wonderful meat eaters. Yes. Yes, I eat what makes me feel better and healthy. Blood tests are spot on, except some hormones, which I'm working hard to balance. Yeah, and you know, that's all we can do. Because we have had many years to fuck it up. So now we just need to slowly try to troubleshoot, fix things. Hopefully, it's gonna get better. Yes, you're late again. Dusters with Shelly. You two can do dusters together. Yes, you're fucking late. Mm. Yes, easing in a conversation with someone who believes sad is the best. It is hard to convince someone. Yeah, it's almost impossible to convince someone. We just need to pique the curiosity and then we kind of get the foot in the door. We can talk about it because they asked us, and then we can just blah. Here you go. I try not to discuss diet stuff with people at work. I think it sounds like a crazy person. Plus, they're probably not ready to be receptive to the info. Yeah. I mean, when I was like 20 or maybe even younger, no, 20, maybe probably around 20 when I first kind of opened my eyes to the low carb diet and could see the benefits. I don't think I was convinced at the time. So let's say 23. Anyhow, I wanted to just tell everyone about it. I was like, this is amazing. And they were like, oh, but it's dangerous and heart attacks and this and that. And I like so much resistance. And even when I was working as a personal trainer, I had people who had lupus, and all I wanted her to do was cut out the wheat. That's all I told this woman to do. She's like, well, yeah, I'm just eating bread 3 times per week. I've cut it down. And I'm like, you can't just cut it down. You have to cut it out. And she just did not want to listen to me. And I was so bloody frustrated because I know that she was going to feel better if she did that. 100%. There's no discussion. Like, she would feel better if she just cut out all the gluten. She wouldn't hear that. She's like, yeah, I already cut it down. And I don't really feel better. So I wonder why. Because, your intestines are still leaking as fuck if you're eating it every other day or whatever. You need to go 100% abstinent from the gluten, otherwise it won't work. But she was having none of it, so I just stopped talking to her about it because it was like banging my head against a wall, and that's usually what happens. Even if she was paying me to train her at the gym, she did not want to listen to the nutrition advice I had. And yeah, I used to take that pretty hard. Like, I have the secret sauce here and no one wants it. What the fuck is wrong with you people? Why are you not listening? It felt like my life's mission and people are just beating me down. So I don't really talk to people about it at all unless they ask. Then I'll tell them. The thing that burdens me the most currently is I see my 3-year-old niece eating 100% carbs, 70% potato, rice noodles, 30% ice cream cake. It just breaks my heart. Yeah. I know exactly what you're talking about. My sister is not that bad. But when she first got pregnant, I was begging her. I was like, please don't give your child sugar ever, because I know what it's done to me. And I think that if you don't get sugar when you're growing up, you're probably not going to be addicted to it. Not in the same way that I was anyway. And I was like, please don't do that. It's not healthy. If they don't know that it exists, they're not going to be begging for it. There's no reason to do that. And guess what? She was like, yeah, maybe. And then, of course, she didn't care when she got the kid. And she would give them whatever, whatever other kids are getting. It's not, by American standards, it might look good because in Sweden, people are more health conscious and they are more generally more bothered about giving the kids proper nutrition. So it would probably most likely look like you having dinner and then you can get something sweet if that's going to happen. And even worse, like what kind of like drove a knife through my heart is my mum. Every time my my sister has 2 children now. Every time they came to visit my mum, and my mum lives like 5-minute walks from them, she would give them something sweet when they left. So that would be like some licorice or ice cream or whatever every single time. And they were there several times per week. And I'm like, what the hell are you doing? Have you lost your mind? Oh, yeah, but I'm grandma. I can spoil them. And I'm like, really? Like, when did she take on that stupid fucking grandma role? I hope you're watching, Mum. Why would you do that? I know she loves her grandkids to the moon and back. And it's like that dopamine hit. Like, she wants to see them be happy, so she's gonna do that even though it actually harms them. But the harmful effect isn't immediate. So it's like cognitive dissonance. She doesn't want to understand what damage she might potentially do. And I was so angry at her. I was like, she's so irresponsible. I had lots of thoughts about what she was doing, not happy at all. And yeah, so Unfortunately, I don't know what you could do. I don't have any good advice, but your niece is not your responsibility. The only thing you can do again is just like trying to, without forcing it, kind of showing the benefits of not doing that. Maybe you could just like find some research saying that children who eat, you know, who don't eat a lot of carbs, they have less ADHD or concentration problems or whatever. Like they don't rage as much or whatever. And they're like, "Wow, look what I found." And maybe that would be, something that might kind of go off there. And the same thing with Bart's nieces. So his sister, their mum, um, I don't know how many times I've heard like him say, but like, well, maybe they shouldn't eat so many carbs, or maybe they shouldn't do that. And it's like parents sometimes just live in a different world. They're just like, well, they like it, and they don't want to have that discussion with the kids. They don't want to have the fight because now when they are already addicted to it, it's like we can't take it away because then they will be upset and they will have tantrum. And so it's kind of an emotional thing there that even though parents now know, they don't want to deal with it, unfortunately. So anywho, for years I thought I had chronic sinus infections, learned that they were migraines. So maybe I have migraines in my sinuses. Um, Even though I'm not a fan of analgesic medication, taking Imitrex, Somatropan alleviated the symptoms. I have no idea what that is. I'm gonna have to write it down. Like anything that can take my sinus congestion away, it's like give it to me. What was it called? Imitrex. Yes, I'll look that up and see what it is. This told me that they were migraines and not sinus infections. Okay. Well, my I've never seen them as sinus infections, but my sinuses, if I lay down, they like clog up immediately. And unfortunately, that has got worse over the years, and now I need to sneeze again. Give me a second. Sinus infection. That's the tree pollen. Um, it's like they just swell up, and that has got worse over years. So it used to be I only needed to use a decongestant at night, and that slowly like increased. So now I need it during the days. And what I can tell you is that when there is pollen out, my sinuses are definitely getting worse. So there is either like a constant chronic infection of some kind that is causing that. I used to be able to control it somewhat with diet, but now that seems to be out of the question as well. It's like more of a steady state now, except for the last week or so when the tree pollen has gone up, my sinus congestion has gone up as well. People know from my history I have found answers, so I do get questions. It's apparent that processed food and sugar is addictive as people feel like crap and yet they can't give it up. Oh, yes. That is so true. That was my like something that really tormented me. It's like I knew that if I was eating sugar, I would get headaches, I would feel really tired, I would have brain fog, I would probably have more like stiffness in my joints first thing in the morning. Like there's nothing good coming from it, and I couldn't stop doing it. Like, and it's like I'm asking myself, like, what the hell is wrong with me? Why is it that I can't stop doing it? It's it caused me so much grief and pain. Like, I know I'm an intelligent person, but still I can't stop doing it. So what the fuck is wrong with me? Why is it that I can't do that? And yeah, I know what that's like. It's not a fun place to be. It's like you just feel like you have absolutely no control of your life. And yeah, it's taking a toll on your confidence for sure. So I used to think that I was pretty good, and then like, but I have this big secret that I can't tell anyone because then they will think that I'm an idiot too. Super chat, thank you. This is a new one. You're saying the same thing. Thank you for all your knowledge, and sorry to all the others that I stole so much time. Almost. You're welcome. And you know what? It's not like we have 13 people watching versus like botch streams where we have like 100. So I think I have time for most of you. And we can take a few more minutes to just clean up the chat. Let's see. You had another one here. I thought about attacking from two fronts. First, teaching your way of pathway forming, then the chemical info about the Randall cycle. But as you said, horse water drink. Yeah. So that's like when you take away the hormonal thing that is happening, when you take away all the carbs and you get more stable blood sugar, etc. Some people will just be like, well, I don't need them anymore because the only thing that drove them was the hormonal response. For those people that are still struggling when they go carnivore or keto or whatever, it's not about the hormonal response. It's more about the habit loops and the neural pathways and all of that. So it's more of like an addiction and a resistance to feeling negative emotions when they don't get to eat that thing. So that is the thing that I'm dealing with. I mean, the diet is really easy to do. So if that is all you need, then you're done. Like, good. I'm currently sending every video of you, Bart, and Barry to my family. So maybe they don't want to watch it then because you're just like bombarding them. That's why I suggested a specific video that might be most helpful for her brain right now. Because when we start bombarding them, we're like, here's more and more info. If anyone does that to me, I'm going to be like, another one. I can't be bothered to watch it. But if you only send me one and you're like, this is why, I would love if you would watch this one. Because this one explains how you can be addicted to this and what the problem is, and then how you can solve it. So just like one thing, and it has a little bit of a solution. This is all you have to do. So okay, maybe that's worth watching. But if it's like, this is why you should do this is why you should do that, and this is how you should think, and it's just going to be like information overload. I can't stand it. I'm not going to watch anything that you send me anymore. That's how I react anyway. Uh, mm, Interesting. I just recently learned that migraines may be linked to gallbladder. It might be worth looking into. I had them when I smoked, haven't had them since. I had no idea about that. I've read Angela Stanton's Migraine Cure, and she's very much for a keto or a carnivore diet because people with migraine brains, they have problems with the sugar metabolism in the brain and overstimulation, and we also supposedly need a lot more salt than other people to regulate the neuronal, what's it called, signaling. So we're kind of using up a lot more minerals when we're doing that. So we can also be, it's also important with the magnesium, which I actually, by the way, have increased a lot lately. So that might be another possible solution for that. However, I still have a headache and I had a lot of magnesium yesterday. And I'm doing it because I'm taking boron, and that shoves a lot of magnesium into the bones, or I'm taking borax. So I don't want to be magnesium deficient. But anyhow, that's very interesting. I have never heard that one. So that's new on me. Ice cream was my addictive nemesis. I used to eat a ton and go into a hypoglycemic coma for hours, like pass out and feel like crap. Sugar hangover. Wow. Yeah, I've had that. If not exactly that, but if I went to buy something and I had like a bag of sweets or something next to me on the desk when I was working or trying to write an essay or whatever, I would eat that. And when you're doing something and you just like on autopilot, just keep eating, eating, eating. And then I would literally sit and fall asleep right in front of the computer. Like my eyes would just close and I would just like poof, which probably isn't a good sign. I bought a breathalyzer to check for ethanol poisoning after eating carbs because I feel drunk and bath for hours. It's pretty bad. Nothing ever shows up on BAC when I get migraines though. Interesting. Uh, so checking ketone and blood glucose monitor might be something. I'm curious. Yeah, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna do an experiment. I'm gonna because it's such a pain in the ass to write down everything I eat and the exact percentage of fat, etc. But I feel like I want to do that for I'll do it for 2 weeks and be quite thorough so I know well as precisely as I can know with food. And I don't know if it's gonna be very precise because if I'm like eating beef fat, I like it fried so that it's a little bit crispy. So there's always a lot of it coming out. So I'm gonna have to weigh how much I've lost, and it's gonna be a pain in the ass. But I want to have as reliable data as possible, so I know like was it 75% fat this day? Was it 80? Was it 82? Where was I? And does that actually make a difference? So yeah, I would be interested. It would be interesting to get the results. So I'll start with 2 weeks. If I don't get any headaches during those 2 weeks, I'm gonna have to continue. I'm not saying I want headaches, but if I do, I want to see what's going on. Um, and if my thing arrives today, I'm gonna do it straight away, just because I have a headache right now. Uh, oh my god, that's like exactly the way I feel now. The burden of knowledge. Yeah. When we learn things and we're excited about them and we know that they're working, it's like we just want to share it with everyone. Unfortunately, backfires because they don't want to listen, but that's funny. Imagine you eat carnivore as a kid of 2'6" parents. You actually could be a freaking Viking. I'm not sure how tall that is. I'm a centimeter person. Um, I'm half Viking. I'm like half Scandinavian. I feel super Swedish though. Oh, thanks to wonderful people like Pim, Bart, etc., I'm dramatically better. The thing is that there is so much information out there, but when you find something that is working for you, like keep following those people, whoever they are, and as long as they being consistent in what it is that they're doing and not like swapping from one thing to another to another. So sometimes you get people, and I'm not saying it's wrong to swap if there's something that works better for that person, but just because they're swapping doesn't mean that you need to swap. So maybe something works. So some people doing like 100% carnivore for 3 years, they feel great, and they're like, well, this isn't really working for me anymore. And then they start doing something different. And if you are still doing great on 100% carnivore, there's no reason for you to swap just because they swapped. But you might have to find someone else to watch or follow to get the help that you need or the information that you need because they're no longer doing that. So just wanted to say that because I think that a lot of the time it's like you're doing something, you have lots of followers. Like let's take just Paul Saladino for an example. Um, People are following him because he was doing carnivore, and then he's like, "No, I'm gonna start eating fruit," and I feel better doing it that way. It doesn't mean that you're gonna feel better doing it that way. So don't go and just do everything that someone does just because you trust them, because they are, unless they're using, you know, like Bart is doing. He's talking about the science, the logic behind it. Like this is probably the right thing for you to do because you're a human being. But then for me, it's not the right thing to do because it doesn't make me feel great. That is the reason why I'm not doing it. So I'm not going to follow everything that he says. He's not even following everything he says all the time because he has other priorities. He's just conveying the message. Whereas we have other people who are going to go 100% carnivore and they are going to be 100% carnivore because they feel great doing that, whether the science says so or not. So depending on like what is it that you're looking at. So when you ask like, oh, well, how does Bart feel eating blueberries or whatever? Doesn't really matter. He's a teacher. He will tell you what the right thing to do for the human species, what the most healthy thing is. Doesn't mean that he's going to do it. But if we took someone like, let's just take Sean Baker. He's being 100% carnivore, and he might use science a little bit, but he's more like, this is how I live, this is what I do, and this is how, I feel great doing this. Then that is different. It's like, where do you position yourself? What kind of person is it, and why are they doing it? Just sidetracked again. Thank you, Pim. I really can feel you. Thank you for sharing your family thoughts. Much respected. You're welcome. Yeah, my mother was poisoning them. And she probably still is. It's just that I'm not in Sweden. I'm not watching it. But ugh, it still upsets me. It's like, why are you doing this? It's totally unnecessary. You can feel when someone cares for the family. It really hurts. I understand that. Yeah. And we just have to accept that, people have their own lives. They get to decide what they are doing. Like, my mom gets to decide what kind of grandma she wants to do. Obviously, I want to change that because I wanted to realize that she's actually doing damage. And my sister gets to decide what kind of mom she wants to be. And the same thing, I can just like educate her, but I can't really force her to do anything. And she's pretty good. Like, she does listen. My family is good because they do listen. They don't just always follow my advice if they don't want to. But that when they have questions, they will come and ask me. They're not shy about that. So I'm feeling blessed that way, that they're not just like, many families will just shut off and not wanting to hear at all. My family's not like that. Yeah. Kids and carbs. My grandkids and niece are so hooked. It's very hard to watch. Yeah. That is sad. When parents and grandparents say it's okay, they're kids, let them be kids and spoil them with poison. Yeah, because we have this belief that kids like sweets and kids should have them. Like, we need to change that belief. Like, my belief is that when you have a kid, you have a blank canvas. You can give them and teach them what they should be wanting, like what kinds of foods they should be craving. It's like my nephew, well, the first time, I say it was not the first time, but the first time I spent any amount of time with him when he was kind of older. I don't know how old he was, maybe 5 or whatever. He said this, I love meat in Swedish. And he just like, I don't know how much he ate, like a third or a fourth of my size, and just like eating twice as much as me or more. And I was just looking at him like, that is awesome. Like, that kid is just like pounding down the meat. So he had it in him, like he really loves it, but he also has my kind of sweet tooth, which is awful. And he loves the same kind of things that I love, like licorice and ice cream and stuff. There are so many similarities between um, his eating behaviors and mine. Although I loved meat when I was, well, I said I didn't love meat when I was a kid, but that was because I just loved some meat. But my mom always overcooked them because she likes them well done, and I can't eat dry, tough meat. So she just cooked it the wrong way for me. But I still like other meaty bits, things that needs to be cooked a bit more. Um, I just started today. I burst my Facebook with all my knowledge and hope my brother clicks on at least one link. It's like setting up a obstacle course with traps. Yes, give your grandkids meat sticks. Why do I keep missing them? Thank you very much. Super chat. Thank you so much for checking my questions and answering them. Thanks for all you do. You're a treasure of the Keto Carnate community. You're welcome. If I can help, I will help. Yes. Yeah, aging on orange juice and bloating on fiber. Good. So if there are no, I will answer the questions, but I'm gonna stop reading comments because we are like 15 minutes over what I planned for. So okay, so that was like a 20-year-old super chat, so maybe I read the same twice then. Anyhow, uh, how we're eating now is our superpower. That was a comment, but anyhow, that is so true. Like, just find whatever fucking works. I've said it 3 times today, but that's the whole point. Like, don't be a seller. Just like find whatever works for you. Use the science, start there as a base, and then tweak it until it works for you. Yeah. Uh, Patty, you're coming in very late. Fuck, I'm 15 minutes behind on the chat. That's amazing. You're chatting a lot today. Yeah, good, good. You're watching Bart on your phone. Yeah. I was like, I'm gonna be done at 9. Okay, that's interesting. Might have to ask Harry. Migraine has also been linked to seizure disorders, so it makes sense that dietary ketosis helps. More evidence that there is a physical link. Yeah. Oh, I've heard that cluster headaches are like the worst, but also that they are more common in men. Oh, this is so funny. As someone interviewed, people say n equals 1 can be the most frigging best reason for you, black swan stuff and so on. If someone can do it, many can do it. Yes. I saw last videos of Paul. He tells oatmeal and energy drink is crap, and 3 seconds after he suggests eating banana and mango. That sounds like sound advice. Not. Sorry if I'm quiet. I'm just reading. You have really chatted away today. Um, yeah. I'm wondering if both of them could. I mean, not necessarily being the same, but um, can't remember what I read in the book. Not sure she mentioned that, but clearly there's something going wrong with either the connections. So if it's like seizures, it might be a problem with the myelin sheets, maybe. Whereas if it's a migraine, it seems to be, according to Angela Stanton anyway, it seems to be an energy issue. So if you that's why a lot of people with migraines have like superpowers. Like I have super smell. I used to live in a flat back in Sweden with my ex, and it had like a super long hallway. And I was sitting in the living room, which was very far away. He came in after work, so he came home after work, closed the door, started taking his shoes off, and he hadn't moved from like being right by the door. And I was like, "Have you been drinking?" I could smell that he had been drinking. I was like, "Yeah, I had a beer after work." One. So my sense of smell, even though I have my bloody sinus problems, is just out of this world, which is not great in my opinion because I'm very sensitive to smells. And if anyone has any sort of body odor, I'm like, "Ooh, I can't stand it." Same thing with I'm very sensitive to loud sounds. It's like things are hurting my ears when it's very, especially certain like apparently a B flat. I don't know anything about music theory or anything like that, but Bart has told me that it's B flat specifically that I pick out every time something hurts my ears. It's a B flat. I'm like, that is it. That's the sound. That's the sound. It's like B flat, B flat, B flat, and he likes to talk in B flat. So I fucking hate his voice sometimes, especially when it gets squeaky. It really, really hurts my brain. Like just like it's like driving a screwdriver into my eardrum. I can't stand it. So when you watch me like shush when he's getting excited on his Q&A or something, it's because I have very sensitive ears and he tends to want to go to the B flat. It just does not work. But also when we're watching like Netflix in the evening, he wants to have the fucking volume to blow the house off, like the roof off the house. And I'm like, this is way too loud. This also hurts my ears. I like dim lights in the evening, and he wants to turn all the fucking lights on. I mean, we're like the opposite here. I'm like, that hurts my eyes. I don't want to see it. It's too light. It's too light, and it's evening, and I don't want to, stop my melatonin productions. Can we please turn those lights off? So he hates dim light, and I hate bright lights. So it's just like I'm very, very sensitive to everything. I'm super ticklish. I always have been. So that's also like a nerve thing. And people with migraines are supposedly very sensitive with so many things. They have I haven't noticed that I have super hearing, like hear extremely well, like what people are saying, but I can hear a lot of um, noises. It's just that I don't hear specifically what's happening necessarily, which some people seem to be doing, which I think that would be a super cool superpower to have. But because we're so sensitive, it's because our neurons are just firing very easily and conveying the message. So we kind of over conveying that message. It's almost like the same thing that happening with the addiction is when we just get too much dopamine. It's like we get too much neuronal activity, and that will deplete the energy and the electrolytes in your brain. And then when that happens, you'll get a migraine. That's how I understand that. Uh, Jag älskar kött. That's what he said. Jag älskar kött. That was so cool. Yeah, I am still behind. I'm still 8 minutes behind. Oh, I'm working on my oldest friend who has PTSD, COPD, and type 2 diabetes. She's coming around, but her docs are trying to scare her. Of course they are. Just keep helping her if she wants the help. You're such a good friend, Patricia. There you go. My hubs has migraines and super acute hearing. Yes, no singing. I fucking hate it. Yeah, like oversensitive sense of smell is not great. Mm, I'm glad I'm not alone. Okay, so I'm not alone. All of you, like good sense of smell and sound is a burden to me too. Not just body odor, but also when people use too much soap. And, yeah, those trigger my headaches. Yeah, I'm with you. I used to work in a very small lab here in New Zealand, like just like a few square meters, like very, very small. And one of the girls who was working there, she liked to wear this awfully heavy perfume. Like it was awful and just makes me sneeze to start with. So I'm allergic to it and it always gave me a headache. It's awful. Yeah, but if he's using headphones to watch Netflix, then I won't hear anything. Unless we can plug both in, but we can't into that speaker anyway. Oh yeah, this is I have vitamin A overpower. I can see everything in my room at night if night shifts are not closed. So this is I have pretty good I can see pretty well in the dark. I adjust fairly easily and I used to love just being out walking in the woods at night. It's so amazing and quiet and peaceful. And people are like, what the fuck's wrong with you? What if, you know, fucking rapist is hiding? I'm like, why would a rapist hide in the woods at night? But anyhow, I used to really love that. And when I want to kind of I'd rather have like no light at all because I'm wondering what's wrong with my brain, but maybe I'm a little bit like a blind person. I've just learned where stuff are located in the house and I will just walk it and without having tried to teach myself, I will know how far I need to walk before I'm at the end of the bed, and I have to turn left, and then I have to, you know. So I kind of just know where things are. But if you were doing that to Bart, he would just walk into everything. It's like he never pays attention to anything in his surroundings. So he would just get really pissed off, and I'm like, I still can't see things necessarily, but I just like know where to walk. I think it's funny. You use chemicals. I don't. Um, I have a soap now, like Dr. Bronner's, which is okay. I used to do like the hard soaps, but other than that, no, I don't use anything. I don't have any. My deodorant is like beef fat and baking soda mix that I just put in my armpits. I wash my hair with baking soda. I don't use any of that stuff. Bart needs fucking smelly soaps and shit. I don't know why he wants to do that, but he won't have any of it if I say like maybe you should do this instead. No, I want it to smell nice. And he knows better, but that's his choice. Uh, okay. I could see and hear Bart bumping into things. Curse, curse. Yeah, I don't know what he was doing last night. So he was playing cricket last night and came home. We watched a movie, and then he was going to have a bath when I went to bed. And when he came to bed, he's like getting into bed, and then he's like, "Oh, for fuck's sake!" Starts swearing like, "Thanks for waking me up," completely, and just storms out of the bedroom, turns the lights on in the other room, and closed the door. Thank God. And I have no idea what he was doing. Clearly, he forgot something. But I mean, it's funny, but it's not funny when he wakes me up because I can't always fall asleep again. Yeah, indeed. Bollocks, are you retarded? I'm gonna ask him after after his premiere what the fuck he was doing. I think he also went out to the car, so he might have forgot something in the car. It can't have been his phone because I know that he was using it before, so I have no idea what he was doing. Um, So I think we're done. Thank you so much, you two, for being here. I appreciate all of you asking questions, being here with me live. And clearly, I couldn't stick to 1 hour, so we did 1.5 today. I'm gonna try to, unless before Sue is sending me like a billion questions beforehand, maybe I make it to 1 hour next time. And yeah, but it's fun to hang out with you. It's cool to see that you're here actually having fun with me. So thank you so much. I will see you again next week. And don't forget my premiere on your Sunday. Same time. No, earlier, an hour earlier than this. That's it. So you will be awake before Zoo. You can pop in for that one and just have a chat with me again. And I will chat to you much more than I'll chat with you in the chat rather than talk to you. God, my brain is just blah today. I think it's blah quite a lot of the time. But anyhow, love you guys. I will see you later. Bye.